Entrepreneurship for me is the start of a new business. It's actually the activities involved in the startup of a new business. Innovation for me is not necessarily something you see in the startup activities of a new business. Innovation is when you bring a new technology or service, it can be a new business model, to the workplace. It's about creating change in the existing activities and the existing structures in society. I believe that entrepreneurship can be taught. In fact, I would argue that it isn't particularly innate. I think that the people who argue that entrepreneurship is innate are really looking at what they call the entrepreneurial spirit. There are people in this world who are more creative. There are people in this world who are more prone to assume leadership roles. There are people in this world who are highly confident, more so than other people around them. There are people in this world who are less fearful of things failing than others. And we actually see variations in this rate across societies. My own research has used the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor data, and perceptions vary considerably from country to country, which in my view suggests that it's something that can be learned. It's something cultural. I think you can learn how to do anything. Now, how well you learn how to do it, I think, could vary. The truth is that in any company, there's usually more than one person involved. Even if, in that great man history way, sort of the leaders thought to be the person starting the business, I can promise you that they are not working in a vacuum. They're surrounded by people who are supporting them, formally and informally. If there is any way to define whether someone is well positioned to start a business, that the number one question would be what their resource sets look like, and that includes their relationships to a large degree. How confident we feel has a lot to do with how much support we're getting from people around us. How much money we have access to has a lot to do with the people we know and their level of trust in us, or our credibility as someone who is taking on the types of activities. So we work in teams, right? And even if we don't have everything that we need to bring to the table, hopefully we can build a team of other people who do have what it takes, and we really are. Innate gifts are really, I think, tied more to social position and how well we're positioned to start a business. I think the challenge there is that it is a classic challenge for business schools, right? They even face this when they're hiring faculty. Do we want people who've done the activities and have that tacit knowledge you get from, setting up operational workflows, running financials in this particular industry or that, dealing with the regulatory environment in this industry or that industry? So are you better off, what is it like to market? That varies a lot by industry. So I think the challenge is there. Practice professors have a definite place in business schools, but frankly, for the business school itself, the competition happens in the research and making a name for yourself, and it's often not the expertise of the practice professors to do that kind of thing. So they need research professors, and the collaborations between these professors are really great. So that's thing one. I think composing your teaching staff is really important. I think the partnership idea, the schools that I think are thinking well about it right now are the ones who are, for example, having co-teaching with one practice person and one research person. Those people inevitably end up collaborating on research, which is what builds the school's reputation. And by the way, I think that research is probably better research because you get the heavy analytical, deep research, literature, understanding of the research professor, and you get the practical, okay, nice idea, but the real world doesn't care about that. Let's talk about something they care about, and let's bring those tools to play. The second thing, which I think is really important, is that I'm a big proponent of experiential education. If you're trying to teach a class full of students how to do something, they need to be doing it, right? It's like teaching mathematical theory and not having your students actually work problems out. Business schools are great at teaching you how to write business plans. One of the biggest criticisms I hear from people out in the field who are reviewing these business plans is this is not very realistic. And I don't think you can learn how to write a realistic business plan unless you're writing it for a real business. I think there are a couple of trends that really speak closely to both of those issues. I think one, speaking academically and as a sociologist, right, this is my training, I'm well trained in a depth of social theory, or org theory, and stratification theory. I tend to adopt a very macro view, but I also understand applications in an individual level. And I have advanced statistical training and advanced research methodology type of training that appears, at least in my experience, appears to stand out at business schools, because a lot of business schools are populated by practice professors who don't go through that formal, rigorous training. So I think there's, I think in terms of the social sciences, we have a tremendous amount to offer the people who are on the ground and doing stuff, how to do things better. We can coach them and show them some of the patterns, and there's a volume out there. So I think one of the most useful things that can happen in the social sciences is for someone to do some translation. You know, how can we take some of the wisdom that's been created, whether it's people theorizing how the world works, human systems, industry type studies, macro social structure, cross-cultural differences or regional differences, that kind of thing. People with those same types of metaphors, you know, are really being, I think, well modeled in mathematical science, statistical sciences. And so to be able to bring some of those tools to help, you know, test out these theories in the real world, social sciences has a critical role to play in that place. I think the second part of that really, for me, comes back to the humanities question. And humanities is, for me, you're talking about how questions and communications are framed. You know, in popular speak, we use the word spin more. How do you spin things? How do you tell your story? Narrative. Even in entrepreneurship studies, narrative has become an increasingly popular approach to the study of entrepreneurship and the experiences of entrepreneurs. Well, humanities really, they're the experts at that. They really know. Whether you're talking about communication studies, journalism, you're talking about English, you're talking about classical studies, these themes are all there. Babson excels in entrepreneurship education because the focus of their program, starting at the undergraduate level, is experiential education. They have their students starting businesses in some form or another right from the beginning. So the whole time they're learning how to start a business, they're actually applying it to the projects that they're working on. They do have a hatchery, so they have a business hatchery. They're actually using classroom time to work on new business plans, and they have rooms everywhere where teams can actually go and kind of set up a headquarters and work on things as well. I think providing students with those spaces can really, team spaces in particular, where they can kind of collect like a mini office, could be very useful. It's obviously very costly to the university, so not all schools are going to be able to do it in an equal way. I've always been a big proponent of the build it and they will come kind of philosophy. I would like to see universities nationwide think in terms of building entrepreneurial networks on campus, which again UNC's CEI initiative has been very effective at, in my opinion. I'd like to see business schools bring practice professors and research professors together to collaborate on research and in classroom education. And I think most importantly, I think that I'd like to see business schools continue to follow what I think of as the Babson model, which is get the students out there and working on real businesses. And there are a lot of ways to do that, so it doesn't have to just be getting students to start selling stuff in their, you know, semester one class. What do I see as the world's biggest problem? I am often accused of taking a macro perspective on things, so I'm going to go with that. I've done a lot of cross-national research. I think one of the biggest policy challenges that nations have right now is figuring out how to build flexible economies, which for me is not unlike learning how to build flexible economies, transitioning back towards a small business economy. And one challenge we face is that most of the people that we're growing up through our educational system, we're training them to work at big companies. And the trend is moving away from big companies, which means that we have to grow a more entrepreneurial population. This is a lot of what's driving entrepreneurship education at the college and university levels right now.